Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's May 19th, 2017. In the news headlines today, Chris Cornell's wife, Vicky Cornell, disputing the intentional suicide, saying she does not believe that is the case. Notice the emphasis on the word intentional. If you're new to my channel, I educate about the language of gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. It's part of a belief system known as Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism used by occult secret societies. Kabbalah has the belief that God created the world with language when God merged the letter with the number. And gematria is a tribute to this. Chris Cornell just passed at the age of 52, and what I often teach is when the media codes a word in regards to a story, it's connected to a number that's special to that story. And, for example, the word intentional, using one of our most basic forms of the gematria language, the English reduction cipher, watch my How to Gematria videos, intentional sums to 52, just like Chris Cornell's age of death. There's a whole lot more that's interesting here, but let's just start with 52. Another headline I saw this morning, Chris Cornell, the last genius. Notice the emphasis. In the same reduction method, which is full reduction, the last genius, 52. These other numbers are special. I talked about them in yesterday's videos that I've already put out. If you've missed the Chris Cornell playlist, I'm going to link it in the description. But again, 52. A number that's getting coded a lot. Chris Cornell, born in Seattle, the Emerald City 52. He died on May 17th, the 117-year anniversary of the publishing of The Wizard of Oz about the Emerald City. At the end of this video, we're going to talk about lions and tigers and bear, oh my, that song sung in The Wizard of Oz, as a person can be seen getting hung in the woods. In the background, if you're paying attention. He died in Detroit, home of the Lions and Tigers. We're going to talk about why that's so interesting. We're also going to talk about the major parallel with the death of Ian Curtis from Joy Division, who hung himself just after midnight on May 18th, 1980. Chris Cornell reportedly hung himself just before midnight of May 18th, dying at the end of May 17th. Major parallels, we're going to get there. But just look at this list of 52. Emerald City 52. Chris Cornell just released a song called The Promise, Gematria 52. In the reporting, they refer to him as Mr. Cornell and his death, Mr. Cornell 52. His hit song, lots of headlines about it, Rusty Cage, with the emphasis, just like I showed you. Rusty Cage 52. Chris Cornell, escaping the celebrity world at age 52. Fell on Black Days, one of his hit songs, and no doubt probably one of the most played songs by his fans yesterday. A lot of fans, I'm sure, feeling sad. Fell on Black Days 52. And of course, the most important thing, like I talked about, his death is synced up with the upcoming solar eclipse of August 21st, 2017, the first like it in 99 years. Again, Chris Cornell, Soundgarden, Seattle, the Emerald City, which gave birth to grunge music. Grunge music 137, like him dead on the 137th day of the year. Notice how Soundgarden and The Wizard of Oz both sum to 175, like 17/5, the way most of the world writes the date for May 17th, day before the month. Again, May 17th, the publishing of the book by L. Frank Baum, The Wizard of Oz. So now let's go back to Chris Cornell's wife. Chris Cornell's wife, intentional, she says it was not. Look how interesting this gets. The word intentional also has gematria of 65. His wife's name is Vicky, spelled V-I-C-K-Y. Notice that wife and Vicky both sum to 65 like intentional. And the word music also sums to 65. Chris Cornell, talked about this yesterday, died a full span of 65 days from his upcoming birthday. He would have turned 53. The word music, isn't it fitting? You know, musical genius, one of the most remembered voices in rock all time. Some people say Chris Cornell, the greatest rock vocalist ever. You know, not everyone would agree with that. but a lot of people would concur. Chris Cornell also died, you could also say he died 64 days before his birthday, or a full span of 65 days. 64 is interesting because that's his birth year, and the name Chris Cornell also has gematria of 64. Special number of spaces on the chessboard. Chess has a lot to do with masonry, and the month of May and the May sun have everything to do with masonry, as we discussed yesterday. Now look at this. The date he died in Detroit, Michigan. Date with 59 numerology. He's from Seattle, a music city. Detroit, home of Motown, music city. Motown was established in 59. Number stamped all over black people. Negro 59, slave 59, blues 59. The word kill equals 59. This year for the 59th Grammys, we saw 59-year-old Morris Day still the show. Before that, Alwyn Jarreau died. Alwyn equals 59. Black jazz singer. Anyhow, 59, big number in Detroit. Chris Cornell died on a date there with 59 numerology, reportedly. Look at his wife's name, Vicki Cornell, also gematria 59, and even better than that, Vicki Cornell sums to 175 like Soundgarden, like the Wizard of Oz, matching with May 17th. How can this be? If you're new here, you have to appreciate what I've been doing. Since 2013, I've been putting out this knowledge, exposing what's going on in the world. Planned rituals and numbers that are planned decades in advance. And it seems that along the way, these celebrities are often put into arranged marriages where it's not their choice. The dates they're married, they sync up with their career accomplishments, their future, things just like this. I've been talking about this in videos since 2014, many times before, many celebrities before, and here's just the latest. Chris Cornell. There is something very occult going on in the world of celebrity, which a lot of people really know. Some of the most hidden knowledge about the occult is numbers. Francis Bacon, who's credited with creating the movement that started the Americas of the Rosicrucian order, they said what he was most secretive about was all things numerical. So what I'm exposing here, these are some of the biggest secrets of what's going on in the higher ranks of Freemasonry and the secret societies that run this nation. The last genius having this 52 coding, what else really stands out is the 74. Chris Cornell. You know, his name, Chris, like Christ. A lot of people, when they look at Chris Cornell, they see a man that looks something like the common drawing in our culture of Jesus Christ. Remember, Jesus Christ equals 74, Jesus is 74, cross 74, gospel 74, Messiah 74. I've done a lot of work on the tropics, time, 74, the sun in the sky with the 12 constellations, Jesus with his 12 disciples, the skull with the 12 folds in the mind. All of this symbology is so important. And Chris Cornell, his music very much about the sun. There's major parallels with the sun and Jesus Christ. They tell us the sun is 93 million miles away. Crucifix equals 93. God's Son 93. Nazareth 93. Science in 2012 said that Jesus Christ was crucified on April 3rd, which is the 93rd day of the year. In the book of Mark, Jesus is crucified between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. They tell us the sun's 93 million miles away. Black hole sun equals 93. And again, his death is synced up with the solar eclipse that's happening August 21st. And by the way, in Revelation, the book about the return of Christ and the destruction of the earth before the return, which is not something, I just think that's a book of fear meant to control people, but it's used in these ongoing riddles. Anyway, a solar eclipse is one of the signs of the end. And of course, there's been many solar eclipses, but pay attention in history now that you know this knowledge, and watch how these rituals are performed again and again. 191, that's also the number for super unknown, the Society of Jesus, which made the Christian day of worship from Saturday to Sunday. Super Unknown's the album that Black Hole Sun's on. We talked about 191 yesterday. This headline coded that in. Dead at 52, the Sun-Jesus connection, Society of Jesus, again, that made Sunday the day of worship. About that eclipse, one more time. Chris Cornell's birth name, Christopher John Boyle, gematria of 97, like the word death, and to the solar eclipse from his death, which is August 21st, 97 days. So not to be redundant, I've covered all this other information. Look at the flip side, though, of Black Hole Sun, the single. Like suicide. Like how they're saying Chris Cornell went out, which his wife is now disputing. One of my readers pointed out a great point, and I forgot all about this song. I used to love this song when I was in college. When it came out, I thought, oh, maybe I do like Chris Cornell joining up with the Rage Against the Machine band. I like this Shadow on the Sun song. In the chorus, he sings, this is Chris Cornell singing, I can tell you why people die alone. I can tell you I'm a shadow on the sun, like an eclipse. And by the way, eclipse has gematria of 33 like Rockstar. CC, Chris Cornell sees the third letter. Eclipse 33, Rockstar 33, CC 33. Even the name Chris is 33. Think about Jesus Christ crucified at 33. He died on the 137th day of the year. 137 is the 33rd prime number. But check this out. Shadow on the sun in gematria sums to 66. Revelation is the 66th book of the Bible about the return of Jesus, having the eclipse as part of the prophecy. The date of the eclipse this year, August 21st, 2017, is a date with 66 numerology. And I actually talked about this at the beginning of the year in the video I put out on the eclipse. If you write out 33 as a word, it sums to 66. But how amazing. Shadow on the Sun, one of his most famous songs with Audio Slave, which has the same gematria as May Sun, dying under the May Sun. Just like how Black Hole Sun came out in May on May 4th, Sun 54. Could it be any more perfect? Again, Prince, 33 years before his death, wrote, I would die for you. The number 4, the letter U. In 83, before text message, before, instant chat online, before people talk that way. He died on 4/21, April 21st. U is the 21st letter. I would die for you. He recorded that in 83, 33 years before his death. The same year the band Police put out the song Murder by Numbers, and how it's as simple as ABC, 1, 2, 3. So speaking of Prince in April 21st, Chris Cornell, he put out this new song, something called The Higher Truth, the new album that has this track on it. Just notice the symbolism here. We have a peak like a pyramid, and we have a sun that's clearly blacked out. We have a black hole sun. And this is what Chris Cornell just put out before his death. He went on Jimmy Fallon and sang a little song from here. Remember, Black Sun sums to 52. Black Sun 52. This symbolism reminds a lot of the dollar bill with the all-seeing eye. Notice it's called Higher Truth. Higher Truth has gematria of 56 like all-seeing eye. The Promise, the name of the song, which he sang from this on Jimmy Fallon's late night show. Gematria of 56 from the Higher Truth. Remember, Kabbalah, this Jewish mysticism, it's all about ascension. It's all about reaching the pinnacle. It's all about traveling up the 33 vertebrae of your back to reach your pineal gland. And to appreciate this, the word skull has gematria of 33, so does the word pineal. And it's about traveling up your 33 vertebrae to get there. You see, we all have 33 vertebrae. The word person's 33, the word people 33. The word vertebrae is 42, like May, like Manly P. Hall, who educated about these things decades ago. Former Freemason. He didn't teach gematria, but he taught about the vertebrae and the symbology of 33. He never shared the gematria knowledge. Something else I noticed, another headline has this song called My Promise, and they emphasized it, My Promise. I noticed that My Promise and The Promise both have 52. How perfect. Prince last year died in Minnesota. Understand, the death of Prince last year is the death of Chris Cornell this year. These are the big rituals in the musical world. There were a lot of deaths in 2016, but the one that stole the show was Prince. It's going to be Chris Cornell this year. A lot of things are synced up with Chris Cornell. He performed this song on The Tonight Show, which has the gematria of 74 as well as 191, like Super Unknown, as well as 187, connected to death and killing and the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Talked about these things in yesterday's videos. He died on the 137th day of the year, which is associated in mathematics with the number 187. The day he performed this song was April 21st, the same day Prince died a year earlier. So on April 21st, a year later, again, Prince died in Minnesota, 52, Chris Cornell performs this song, The Promise, with this symbology, the black sun. And here his death is perfectly synced up with the eclipse that's to come. So, final notes. Solar eclipse has gematria of 134, and Chris Cornell Higher Truth has gematria of 134. For these notes from this performance about this song from this album, what do you think? Coincidence? I mean, is that not a picture of a solar eclipse? Chris Cornell Higher Truth? If you're new here, you might want to check out my video on Tisha B'Av that I put out earlier this week in 134 and Trump's 134th day in office. With regards to Chris Cornell dying on the 137th day of the year, Washington, D.C. equals 137, government 137, White House 137. Again, it's because it's the 33rd prime, federal equals 33, just like the headquarters of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry for the 33rd degrees is in D.C. All of this stuff is interconnected. All of these rituals are about something even bigger than the musician and the music itself. So, now we're getting back to the Wizard of Oz part here. Chris Cornell died in Detroit, Michigan. He's from the Emerald City, which is the city in the Wizard of Oz. Now I'm going to show you how all of this comes together, but understand this. Detroit in sports is the home of the Lions in football and the Tigers in baseball. And I talked about how earlier this year the Tigers owner died suspiciously in connection with the start of the baseball season. Think about the Wizard of Oz song, Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my. In that scene, which I have linked in this next post, I won't show the clip just in case they'll block the video over it, but you can search for it yourself. Just do Wizard of Oz hanging scene. I mean, it's well documented. In that scene where they're singing the song, a person gets hung in the background. And oh, by the way, one of my readers pointed out to me that Chris Cornell released a song music video on his channel once upon a time, September 11th, I think it was 2016 or 15, recently, where he gets hung in the music video. And at the end of the music video, after he gets hung, it shows him walking away with the rope around his neck. So he's still alive. Check that out too. That's something I can cover later. Somebody just showed me that. I should have put that in here, but look it up. Anyway, Detroit, Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my, check this out. Detroit, Michigan. Okay, you know what? Notice the 58 gematria. Let's come back. I want you to really appreciate this. Got to show you one more thing that we covered before. In the Soundgarden video, The End Is Nigh, there's this scene in the music video that actually looks a lot like Dorothy and her three companions, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, the Lion, when they're about to cross the poppy fields to get to the Emerald City. There's a shot just like this, looking at the four of them as they're about to cross the poppy fields. Here we have roses instead. But notice, the end is nigh. In gematria, that sums to 58, like Soundgarden, like Emerald, like the Wizard of Oz, also like Detroit MI as you write it on an envelope, where he passed, the front man for Soundgarden. And 58's the number of free, May, sun, re. May, sun. All of this is about time and the sun. All of it. All of these rituals are. Everything comes back to time and the sun, what controls all of our lives. Life isn't possible without the sun. Time, what works against all of us. Time is the beast in the Bible. Clockwork has gematria of 666. Think about it. 666, the number of the beast. Anyway, Freemasonry, 58. Secret Society, 58. Solomon's Temple, 58. Solomon's Temple is what all of Masonry's secrets are based in, from the Old Testament. Jewish, like gematria, Jewish. And just real quick, time and beast both sum to 47, like rock, radio, legend. Chris Cornell, born with a life lesson number of 47. From Seattle on the 47th parallel, the Rock City, the rotating restaurant on the Space Needle, the most famous attraction in Seattle, does a full rotation every 47 minutes. The tropics, which tell time, are 47 degrees apart. So, 58. Detroit, Michigan, the passing of the Soundgarden frontman. Notice also the 113. 113. From his death, May 17th, to September 7th, which is the start of the upcoming NFL season, which the Lions play in, Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my, is 113 days. And the fact that the season begins on 9/7 is interesting because Chris Cornell's full name, Christopher John Boyle, 97, like death, like 97 days to the solar eclipse. Also, Soundgarden broke up in 97. 113, special number, and we're talking about Detroit. Right now, the ongoing sports season is baseball, where the Tigers play, Lions and Tigers. They play in Comerica Park, which equals 113, and this year is the 113th World Series. And I've been speculating that we might see the Tigers in the 113th World Series against the Nationals in D.C., where 137 is the number. Washington, D.C., 137. Comerica Park also has the gematria of 59. It's in Detroit. Motown came out in 59. Chris Cornell dead in Detroit. Motown on a date with 59 numerology. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting? Last year, Prince's death, as I explained, was connected to... And I explained it from the day it happened, and I proved it afterwards. Prince's death, I showed right away, was connected to the NBA Finals, the World Series, and the Super Bowl. And it was. Go back and see my work. I predicted Prince's death before or after the 58th Grammys, because Vanity died before the 58th Grammys, Murder by Numbers, and I showed how her death looked like Prince was going to die next. And Prince died just before his 58th birthday. Prince born in 58, dead just before his 58th birthday at the age of 57. Entertainer 57, Scottish Rite 57. Read my work about Washington, D.C., the Scottish Rite, presidents being inaugurated at age 57. 4 out of the first 5. Lots going on. The name George equals 57, which George Washington is named after. The special architecture of D.C. has a tribute to the moon and 57 degrees. Prince dead at 57, special number as well. Scottish Rite. All of this stuff comes back to Masonry. Sun, moon, earth. Celestial bodies. It's all about that. I don't know my astrology as well as I should, but I understand the number half. Which, honestly, to me is the easiest way to see through what they're doing. Because math, it's exact. And these people work in exact patterns. And speaking of which, let's now close with the death of Ian Curtis, who died at 23, the word symbol 23, the front man for Joy Division. They said he committed suicide by hanging, and here, another major death with a riddle with the Wizard of Oz. And major parallels to Chris Cornell. He was born July 15th. Chris Cornell was born July 20th. Both of them were born in the time of Cancer, ruled by the moon. Chris Cornell was born on July 20th, the anniversary of the moon landing. And, okay, just try to appreciate this. The word moon has gematria 57, like Scottish Rite. Again, Scottish Rite and Freemasonry headquarters in D.C., it was a president who dreamed of putting a man on the moon. NASA, by the way, was established in 58, like Freemasonry, like Secret Society, like science, like we talked about. The moon landing happened in the time of Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon. And the astrological symbol for Cancer is 69. Moon landing in 69 in the time of Cancer. The first man to walk on the moon, Armstrong. Armstrong in gematria sums to 44, like space. also like Cancer. You see? All rituals. The moon landing, if we really landed on the moon, it wasn't what was shown on TV. If we have the capability to get to the moon, it was not shown on TV. What was shown was a recreation. And just think about it. How did they have the technology to broadcast back in real time? They didn't. It's always putting on a show, deceiving the masses on a lot of levels, even sometimes faking the deaths of celebrities so that they can probably just go live outside of the spotlight. Understood. This is a world fascinated with celebrity. Ian Kevin Curtis. Let's get to him now. He reportedly hung himself. His name in Gematria sums to 67, his full name, like blood sacrifice. We see this again and again around death. When I predicted Prince's death, which you can go back and watch, the video was uploaded February 16th, 2016. Short video, watch it. I show why we're going to be reading about Prince next likely. And I talk specifically about the number 67, and he died 67 days from vanity. You know? So, his name, Ian Kevin Curtis, also has Gematria of 175, reminding us of May 17th, Soundgarden, The Wizard of Oz. His last day on Earth was May 17th. He reportedly committed suicide in the early hours of May 18th, in the middle of the night. He was from a band from the UK. They were in the United States of America when he died. And what I didn't do that I should have done... Wait a minute. Excuse me, they were planning a trip. They were planning the trip. They were about to travel to the United States. They had a North American tour coming up. Just before they're about to leave, he committed suicide in his native land. But look at this. Just before traveling to the United States has Gematria of 77, like secret society, nation founded by 33rd degree Freemasons from a secret society. The Wizard of Oz also has the Gematria of 77. Yesterday we talked about Oz in the USA. Oz equals 41. USA equals 41. 41 the 13th prime. 13 colonies. Oz also has the Gematria of 13. Where this young man died was on Barton Street, which has Gematria of 77. He hung himself, look at this, at house number 77 on Barton Street. You know, what are the odds? Just the night before traveling to the United States. And with regards to his July 15th birthday, that date can be written 15/7, United States 157, also like Barton Street. His birth numerology, it's interesting that he has a 97 birth numerology. Chris Cornell's birth name, 97 Gematria, died 97 days before the eclipse, and then synced up with the start of the NFL season, which is on 9/7. The date he died was a date with a life lesson number of 41. Oz, using the alphabetic order. So simple. O is 15, Z is 26. 15 plus 26, 41. USA, U the 21st letter, S the 19th, A the 1st. 21 plus 19 plus 1, 41. 41 the 13th prime. So, Wizard of Oz ritual. The numbers are here. Look at also that it was a date with 122 numerology. Soundgarden in Gematria equals 122. Seattle, the Emerald City, on the 122nd meridian. Let's come back to this post one more time. The end is nigh has Gematria of 122 like Soundgarden. And where do I have, there it is. Seattle's coordinates, 122nd meridian, 47th parallel. 47. So, amazingly, this man in his death, the same numbers that correspond with the death of Chris Cornell, Soundgarden, in his passing. And again, the Wizard of Oz. It was also a date with 103 numerology. Talked about this number in connection to Chris Cornell yesterday. 103 is the 27th prime number, the number that rock stars infamously die at. The word ritual has Gematria of 27. Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix, major rituals and numbers. Two more rock musicians connected to Seattle. One more time, Rock 47, Seattle on the 47th parallel. The Freemason compass, May sun, set at 47 degrees. Just like how the tropics that measure the solstices, the sun, are 47 degrees apart. The Freemasons have the 47th problem of Euclid about how to establish foundation. Foundation equals 47. So, from the singer's birthday, his upcoming birthday, to the date he died was 58 days. Look familiar? The Wizard of Oz 58, Emerald 58, Soundgarden 58, Detroit MI 58, Freemasonry, Secret Society, Solomon's Temple, Rosicrucian, Rose Cross, all of these things associated with Masonry. And there's a lot more. Craftsmen, what Masons call themselves. A few more notes. Joy Division, his band, gematria of 65, like the word music. Chris Cornell died a span of 65 days from his birthday. Emerald City, also 65. He died in connection with the Wizard of Oz, the front man for Joy Division. Notice also that his last performance was May 2nd. I just want you to see this. May 2nd is the 122nd day of the year. May 2nd, 5/2, kind of like 52. May 2nd, the 122nd day of the year. And he died on a date with 122 numerology. What 122 also represents is the word Elohim, the Jewish word for God. In Jewish gematria, Elohim's 122. Using the alphabetic order, it's 62, like Mason, May, Elohim, God, the Son. Also, the word Freemason in Francis Bacon gematria, the Rosicrucian leader that gave way to modern Masonry. In Francis Bacon gematria, Freemason 122. And one more time, Seattle, the Emerald City on the 122nd meridian. About his death, it said he was watching the 1977 film, the 77 film, number 77. What you guys need to understand about me is, for a long time, I researched. I sought knowledge and information, and I was just trying to figure out what the truth of this world is. What's the truth about what's going on in the world? What's the truth about God? Just looking for answers, looking for knowledge, accumulating knowledge. In the time I was seeking knowledge, I just noticed repetition with numbers. And just things like this. I mean, he was at number 77, he was watching a 77 film, and I'd go, is that coincidental? I mean, 77, that's kind of like 2 sevens. I know 7 has this meaning. Lots of 7 in the Bible. That's how I used to be. A decade ago, that's where I was. I was like, what's going on? And then in 2013, I learned about gematria, and I started decoding. And, you know, I mean, lo and behold, I started to just find this kind of stuff nonstop. Just in case you're new here, I always have to remind about this. If you write out September 11th in words, it sums to 77. If you write out World Trade Center, it sums to 77. In Washington, D.C., on the 77th meridian, Flight 77 hit the Pentagon, which is exactly 77 feet tall, exactly 77 minutes after taking off. Plus the Pentagon, construction began September 11th, 1941, 41, USA 41, Oz 41. Doing things by the numbers. That's where I was, you know. I saw that there was a pattern. When I learned gematria, I started to decode, and I said, oh my God, this is really going on. Somebody out there in this world is doing this. And enough time, connected enough dots, it became undeniable who's responsible for this coding. Freemasonry coded their name up and down it. And you look at the history of this nation, the Rosicrucians, modern Freemasonry, Francis Bacon, the United Kingdom, France. It's not hard to see what happened. The English language as we know it was created. This nation was created. The New World Agenda started to spread at record speed. And here we are in 2017, over 400 years deep in the game. And Chris Cornell, the latest son sacrifice in time, if he's really dead. Either that or this is how his career ends, as a sun ritual under the May sun. Number 77, 77 film. The number 23. People always leave it, every single video I get trolling comments, you're that weirdo from the number 23. Do you guys understand that those movies are made on purpose to make people dismiss the truth so that they associate this type of behavior with craziness? If you come to my video and think I'm crazy, you're really just finding out the truth about yourself. But anyhow, the name of that film even, Strozek, Gematria 52. like how he did his final performance on May 2nd. There's a lot of things that are interesting about that date. Do your numerology homework. You'll see what I see. Strozek also sums to 47 like suicide, what he watched just before he hung himself. Ian Curtis, if you lose his middle name, sums to 42 like Freemason, like May, like killing himself just after midnight. Chris Cornell killed himself just before midnight in May. And I noticed also hanging is 42. Chris Cornell, the music video where he walks away with the noose around his neck. The word noose has gematria of 68, like how caskets go 6 feet deep or 8 feet long. This man's last name, Barton, also gematria of 38. And I don't know why I didn't put this up here, but I'll show you right now. Cornell, which is not his birth name, gematria of 38. You see? 38. Barton 38. Cornell 38. Death 38, murder 38, killing 38. I'm going to link this calculator, just verify. Death 38, murder 38, killing 38. Prince last year passed in Minnesota 38, and his home in Chanhassen, where his father once died by the numbers 38. Chanhassen's even 52, just like Minnesota. And of course, Minnesota hosting Super Bowl 52, which will begin 113 days that season after the death of Chris Cornell at age 52. The band that they started after he killed himself, they changed the name from Joy Division to New Order. New Order, 42. You know, we just talked about 42 in the Freemasons. The word new alone has gematria of 42. New Order, also 102, like United States of America, a nation founded by the New World Order. Came over from Europe. It was already over there. What the New World Order is, what the Illuminati is masonry in high places. And yesterday we really talked about the Illuminati and the symbolism within Chris Cornell's name, his death, his final song sung, the tribute to Led Zeppelin. I'll let you watch that and the rest of the playlist, which is linked below with the calculator and all of these blog posts. Until next time, Truth Seeker.